Welcome back to the JJ's Declutter podcast. I'm Julie here with Janis, and today we have a fairy tale for you. But this isn't your typical fairy tale with princes and fairy godmothers. This story of two women with matching blue aprons, an unshakable friendship, and the ability to look at a closet that's crammed with, I might need this someday, and see exactly what needs to go. This is the story of us, the real us, the imperfect, still dealing with our own clutter us.
It's called The Great Spring Awakening and the JJs. And it's about what happens when decluttering experts actually have to declutter their own stuff. Spoiler alert, it's messy, both emotionally and literally. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's talk about the spring that changed everything.
So this story starts last March. I woke up one bright morning, sneezed about 17 times in a row, and declared to my 5 grandgirls who'd come over for pancakes, that's it, spring is here, and it's time for a proper spring cleaning. Then my great grandson knocked over a stack of magazines from 2019 that I'd been saving for collaging someday. I looked at this avalanche of glossy paper and I had an epiphany. Here I am talking about decluttering for a living. And I still have magazine subscriptions that I don't read, creating archaeology in my own home. So I immediately texted Janis, we need to do an emergency podcast episode. And also, I need an intervention.
And I replied within seconds. Zoom call in 10 minutes? Julie typed back, yes, this is bigger than us. Because here's the truth, declutterers. We teach this stuff. We coach people through it. We have systems and methods and acronyms, but we're still human. We still accumulate. We still struggle. And we decided it was time to get real about that.
That afternoon, we sat down with our microphones and a plan that was equal parts brilliant and terrifying. We decided to tackle our own spring cleaning room by room using every single method that we'd ever taught you. The Decluttering Dozen, the Keeper Let's Go sorting system, small doable doses, all of it. And we were going to be brutally honest with what worked, what was hard, and where we messed up. Because here's the secret, nobody tells you about decluttering experts. We have clutter too. I have my grandmother's china that doesn't get used, Tupperware from my selling days that I'm saving, and an entire drawer of rubber bands that have basically formed their own civilization.
So we announced the Great Spring Awakening to our community, and the response was immediate and electric. Declutterers started chiming in. I'm in, me too, finally doing this. Because here's the thing, when you know you're not doing it alone, when you've got 2 imperfect coaches showing you their own messy process, it suddenly feels possible. The kingdom, or at least the corner of it that follows the JJ's Declutter podcast, was ready.
Decided to start with my kitchen. Because if you're going to slay dragons, you might as well start with the one that breathes fire 3 times a day. I set my timer for 12 minutes. Hashtag Decluttering Dozen. And I opened my Tupperware cabinet. The avalanche was immediate and unforgiving. Containers tumbled out like plastic waterfall. Lids skittered across the floor. And this rectangular container, 1987, landed at my feet. Avocado-green, a relic from my Tupperware selling days. It had survived 3 moves, 2 kids, and the rise of the meal prep culture. And I could hear Janis's voice in my head saying, do you really use this? Or does it remind you of a business that you haven't run in 30 years?
That does sound like something I'd say. So what happened to the avocado green container?
I picked it up and went through our Let's Go system. Keep? No. I have containers I actually use. LE lives elsewhere? No. Doesn't belong anywhere else in my house. Trash? No, it was still good. It was just outdated. Sentimental? Be a tiny bit, but not enough to keep it. Geo goes out. Yes, donation box Someone else would love this vintage piece. I texted Janis photo of the overflowing donation box. Day one, I have liberated the Tupperware. The Tupperware is free.
And I sent back a victory dance gif because, she likes to dance it out. Followed by, meanwhile, I just found an air popper I've used exactly once in 2013, and it was to toast my spices, not popcorn. We're all disasters. I love us. And we really are disasters. Beautiful, functional disasters, working through our own stuff right alongside with you.
Absolutely. By week two, I made it to my bedroom closet, the final battle of any spring cleaning quest. I opened that door and 17 dresses I hadn't worn since, well, my grandgirls were born, stared back at me. And I'm not kidding when I say they were whispering things to me. I could hear it. You might fit into us again. You paid good money for us. We're toxic. So I sat down on my bed and I called Janis and I said, I can't do it. I know everything we teach. I know these dresses represent a version of me that doesn't exist anymore, but I just can't do it.
I remember this call. You were really struggling. And I was quiet for a moment, and then I said, Remember Mrs. Patterson? She was from our Tea and Treasures workshop, a lovely woman in her 80s who'd been drowning in her deceased husband's belongings for 6 years. And she told us that the hardest part wasn't in letting go of his things, it was letting go of the person she had been when he was alive, the wife, the caregiver, the woman who knew where every tool in his workshop was. And that's when it clicked for you, wasn't it?
It really was. Those dresses were from when I was, climbing corporate ladders and running fashion shows, fitting into a world that doesn't fit me anymore. And Janice said to me, the woman you are now, she's pretty amazing. She has granddaughters and a great grandson who adore her. She helps people transform their lives. She co hosts a podcast with her best friend. She doesn't need those dresses. She needs closet space for who she actually is. So I took a breath and said, okay, I'm going to do it. But I'm doing it in small doses because this is hard.
And I said, That's why the method exists, Julie. 3 dresses today, that's enough. And that's important for our listeners to hear. Decluttering isn't always easy. Sometimes it's grief work, sometimes it's identity work. Sometimes you need your best friend on the phone reminding you who you are and not who you used to be.
Week four, something unexpected happened. Clutterers community started sharing their own spring cleaning journeys, and the stories were complicated. One woman posted that I decluttered my entire kitchen and my husband put everything. He says, I'm throwing away perfectly good things. Another wrote, my mom is guilting me about donating the Afghan that she crocheted for me in 1992. She says if I loved her, I'd keep it. I don't even like Afghans. Help!
And Julie and I looked at each other and realized something big. This wasn't just about spring cleaning. It was about relationships, boundaries, family dynamics, all the stuff we talk about in our coaching, but bigger. People were using spring as an excuse to finally deal with the real clutter, the emotional stuff, the people pleasing, the guilt. We needed to address this.
We did. So that weekend, we went live with a special episode, Spring Cleaning Your Life, not just your closets. And we started by saying, here's what we've learned during the Great Spring Awakening. You can't declutter your way to happiness if you're still holding on to toxic relationships, boundary violations, and people pleasing patterns. We spent an hour talking about the real spring cleaning, not the stuff in your garage, but the stuff in your soul. how to handle family members who sabotage your decluttering, how to set boundaries around inherited items that you don't want, letting go of the person you should be to make room for who you are.
And how to clean out your schedule the same way you clean out your closet. We can actually use the Let's Go sorting system for this too. Keep the commitments that energize you. Ellie lives elsewhere. Maybe this obligation belongs to someone else, not you. T, trash. Some commitments have simply outlived their usefulness. S, sentimental. You're only doing it because you've always done it. Time to reconsider. GO, goes out. It's time to let this one go completely. The responses were overwhelming. This episode changed my life. I've been decluttering wrong for years. I just called my sister and told her, I'm not keeping mom's china. She was mad. I told her, they're yours. Now I feel free.
By the time spring actually arrived in full bloom, we'd been on this great spring awakening journey for about 8 weeks. And my house wasn't perfect. My garage still needed work, probably still does need work. I found another stash of magazines behind the guest bed, but my closet held only clothes that I actually wore. My kitchen cabinets opened without avalanches. And most importantly, I decluttered a relationship that had been taking up space in my life. A friend who only called when she really needed something, never when she had something to give, like just her time.
And I conquered my craft room, 11 trips to the donation center, and more significantly, I finally told my adult children that I was not storing their childhood belongings anymore. I gave them 3 months to collect their treasures, or I was donating them. One daughter
Right?
protested, the other said thank you. They'd been feeling guilty about those boxes for years. Sometimes our clutter is actually someone else's guilt we've agreed to store.
What did we learn from the Great Spring Awakening? That spring cleaning isn't really about cleaning, it's about awakening. It's about looking at what we've been carrying, literally and emotionally, and asking if it still serves us. And that clutter is never just about stuff. It's about fear and guilt and trying to hold on to versions of ourselves that just don't exist anymore. Also, that even decluttering coaches need 12-minute timers and accountability partners because this work is hard.
The hardest, but worth it. So here's your challenge, declutterers. This spring, pick one physical space to declutter. Set the timer for 12 minutes, hashtag Decluttering Dozen. That's it. Use the Keep or Let's Go sorting system and break it into small doable doses. Then pick one emotional space to declutter, a relationship that's draining you, a commitment that no longer fits, a should that's weighing you down. You don't have to do it all at once. 12 minutes at a time, that's enough. Progress, not perfection.
Best part of this whole great spring awakening was realizing that we don't have to have it all together before we can help others. We're not fairy godmothers with magic wands, or are we? We're just two real women with real clutter and real lives, helping other real people do the hard, beautiful work of letting go.
Living messily, imperfectly, and authentically ever after. So here's your moral of the story. Spring cleaning your house is good. Spring cleaning your life is transformational. But spring decluttering is best. And you don't have to do any of it alone. We're right here with you. Now set your timer for 12 minutes and start somewhere, anywhere. The magic isn't in perfection, it's in beginning.
Till next time, keep it simple.
Keep it intentional. And
And as always, keep
keep
decluttering.
decluttering.
Started laughing. On track. Happy spring cleaning, everyone!
Happy decluttering!